This is going to be a long video, but please watch it in its entirety if you can. I had something happen to me earlier this year, and at first I thought I was just being made uncomfortable by a man. However, after ending any communication with this man and after opening up to people about it, it has come to my attention that by definition what this man did to me is grooming. So in this video I'm going to talk about what exactly happened and how grooming looked like for me and about the effects that it has had on me. I also want to clarify I'm not comfortable with sharing this man's name at this moment in time. I have told a couple people. I will tell a few more people. There are a few people that I have written long messages to and I keep deleting it because I keep getting scared. But this individual is prevalent in the Pacific Northwest cosplay scene. That is what I will say. And I have lots of mutual friends with this person, and I'm concerned that if I post this individual's name, I'm gonna lose a bunch of my friends. But I can't just sit back in silence, and I can't pretend that this didn't happen to me. And I want my experience with this individual to be a lesson of learning for what grooming can look like. And yeah, so let's just get into this. So this man and I had followed each other on Instagram a while ago. I want to say probably in like 2022. We had chatted a little bit, but like it wasn't anything deep. Like I wouldn't have known him by name. I wouldn't have recognized him at Comic-Cons and whatnot. At Fan Expo Portland, this individual reached out to me and asked to meet up. And since our chats like were fine, like I didn't really remember him too well, but our chats were fine and I didn't have anything against him, so I agreed to meet up with him. That went fine. Then I saw him on the Sunday. That went fine. Then between Fan Expo Portland and Emerald City Comic Con, this individual was reaching out to me nonstop to talk. And there was tons of compliments thrown in there. So it was the start of love bombing. Love bombing is basically excessive compliments and excessive gifts to the point where it's used to manipulate someone's emotions. Sometimes it's intentionally done to manipulate some people's emotions, and sometimes it's just done because a person has developed a extremely unhealthy and toxic relationship style. And it's a toxic relationship style because of the manipulation of emotions, and also because people who love bomb end up doing bad things after they get the person hooked in. Before Emerald City Comic Con, this individual also expressed interest in wanting to get to know one of my friends more, and I've learned that this phrase of get to know ended up meaning like potentially wanting to be like a partner for that person, which I feel really bad because I didn't really realize that's what it could be. So my friend had some interactions with this individual because I was like, hey, he wants to be your friend, so I feel bad about that. Emerald City Comic Con is where things started to get like a little alarming, but I was being love bombed so much that my emotions were so manipulated that I couldn't recognize that things were happening that were red flags. To start off with, I met up with this person at Emerald City Comic Con and he invited me to an after party. When he invited me to the after party, he said, just want to double check, you're over 21, right? So he wasn't even aware that my friend and I were over 21, which in and of itself isn't necessarily a bad thing, but like 18 and 21 are only 3 years apart. Did he even know we were adults? Like, I'm a little concerned about that. At this after party, I found out this individual is over 15 years older than me. I'm not going to give you his exact age because then my friends may be able to know who I'm talking about. At this after party, he was also trying to invite me to go to SakuraCon with him. I was flattered. He had given me so many compliments, and now he was wanting me to go to Comic-Con with him that I wasn't originally planning on going to. I'd also been like interested in SakuraCon for a while, so when I got the invitation from him, I was like, this is perfect, I should go. So I got it all worked out to go. Between Emerald City Comic Con and SakuraCon, he was messaging me even more compliments, so even more love bombing. In that time between Emerald City and Sakura, I had posted about wanting to cosplay a particular character online. He reached into my DMs and said that he was going to buy me the cosplay for the character, which I didn't think anything much of it at first, but then I found out after the fact this was part of love bombing. The outfit that he bought was extremely expensive. He bought the outfit in particular because then we would have this group cosplay with these outfits. Now I feel so like grossed out by the outfit that I haven't even tried it on. I do have it, and it sucks because I really was looking forward to this cosplay. And long story, I also ended up paying him back for it, just to like clarify, like, because I didn't want him to hold it over to me, like, oh, you need to keep talking to me because I bought you this expensive thing. So I paid him back in its entirety so that he would have no reason to hold it over me. Also, in this time period where we were still just chatting over instant messaging, he did something that at first I was like, that's fine. But then the more that I like learned about grooming, the more I realized it's a grooming sign. Groomers will try and establish that they've known you for a long period of time, even if they haven't necessarily known you for a long period of time, because it's in a way to like say like, oh, I've known you for a while, like things that are going on are okay because I've known you for so long. So he brought up that he remembered seeing my mom and I at a lot of conventions when I was younger. Mind you, I've been going to conventions since I was 15. So I sincerely hope he meant a convention where I was over the age of 18, but it is a little weird to try and establish that he knew me and saw me at conventions a lot when I was younger, especially since we literally weren't friends, didn't talk at all until 2022, the end of 2022 specifically. In this period between Emerald City Comic Con and SakuraCon, he also began to obsessively look at my social media, which I've had people do that before, but considering the fact that some of his behaviors were like massive red flags, it started to get a little weird, like downloading TikTok just to look at all of my TikToks, watching all of my TikToks like way back, watching my TikToks when he was at work and stuff like that. Then during my spring break, he wanted to start video chatting. I said yes, which in hindsight, I should not have said yes, but because he had been love bombing me so much, and because my emotions felt so high because of how many compliments he was giving me and that big gift that he got me, I was like, yes, I will do this. Right off the bat, he started trauma dumping in the FaceTime call to me. I am 22, he is over 15 years older, and he is trauma dumping on me. I'm a young adult, and he is like way older. Okay, so something's off about that. Then after trauma dumping, he started asking me questions, interrogating me about my life, and he was very pushy on things. So if I didn't feel comfortable telling him something, he was really pushy about it. For example, he wanted to know about my sexual trauma. He was very pushy about it, and I kept saying no, and it went on for at least like 2 or 3 weeks where he was trying to get me to tell him my sexual trauma, which I have basically only told 2 or 3 people in the universe. So why would I tell this man? But he was very pushy about it. Because he was so pushy, I knew that if I had put my foot down and said I don't want to FaceTime anymore, he was gonna push to know why I didn't want to FaceTime with him. So because of that, our FaceTime calls went anywhere from 1 hour to 3.5 hours. They went some nights as late as 12:30 at night. At this point, my parents were starting to express concern. It is very draining to talk on FaceTime with someone for that long a period of time and to be basically interrogated for hours at a time for this person to try and get every detail of my life started to make me really uncomfortable. But this is something that they do to try to get all of the information out of their life. Because he trauma dumped on me, I felt like because he was vulnerable with me, I should be vulnerable with him. So I ended up giving him my last name when he asked for it. Well, he asked twice for it, and I gave him my last name because I felt obligated to, because he had told me so much about his life. I don't give my real last name to literally anyone online. There are a few of you who probably know my real last name, especially if you know me outside of the internet. It's just a privacy reason, and also giving him my last name, he found my Facebook, added me as a friend, and was scrolling back all the way through my old photos, and on these FaceTime calls he would also mention my old photos and how he was looking at photos of me from when I was 14 and 15 years old. This is a man that is over 35 years old, scrolling back all the way through years of Facebook photos to find photos of me when I was a teen. It was giving weird vibes. I still didn't see anything wrong with it, again, because he was still love bombing. He was still sending me compliments nonstop, and because of that, I was feeling great about myself. Love bombing is so manipulative, and it is very hard to recognize love bombing when it's happening. When I say that love bombing manipulated my emotions so much, he was asking me about my disabilities in his interrogation of questions, and so he knew that I'm disabled, but yet later he used the R slur in front of me, and I didn't immediately see anything wrong with it because my emotions were so manipulated by his love bombing. R slur, in case you don't know, I won't say it, is a slur against disabled people. Then things started to get even weirder. I started saying this like phrase a lot, saying, "Because women have it hard, I'm going to protect you." Now, if you know any of my social media, you know why that first part isn't truly applicable to me. This is a tactic that is used in grooming and in just toxic relationships in general, where the man views himself as a knight in shining armor and he views his partner as a damsel in distress that he has to save. So very just gross, and also it's extremely sexist. Like, again, the first part of the phrase, "because women have it hard," isn't applicable to me, but women are not damsels in distress. They don't need to be rescued by man. They don't need a tough man to protect them. So extremely sexist to say that. Then after 5 days of this video calling, he confessed that he was attracted to me. He emphasized that he was physically attracted to me, but when I had told him that I was asexual, he did research on asexuality and claimed to understand it better, yet he went out of his way to consistently emphasize that he was physically attracted to me. I felt extremely uncomfortable and violated. Then, when it came to him wanting to know my feelings, he worded it in a way where it felt like I was stuck with saying yes, and it felt like I just got shocked and I didn't know how to respond. How do you respond to an older man saying that he's physically attracted to you when you have made it explicitly clear that you are a sex repulsed asexual? So when he said it, I don't remember his exact wording, but it was along the lines of, "I'm sensing a mutual attraction between us, am I right?" It caught me so off guard that I nodded my head and I wasn't sure what was going on. I had gotten a sense that he might have had a crush on me, but I wasn't like 100% convinced that that was like a bad thing yet. I hung up the FaceTime call at night and I had a full body panic attack. Like, I hadn't had that bad of a panic attack in a while, and I've never had such an extreme panic attack that I feel in every single centimeter of my body. I called some friends, reached out to some people, asked people for advice, and basically the consensus was, you need to stop. You need to get away from him. You need to stop. You need to tell him you're not interested. So after trying to deal with my anxiety about this for a few days, when he asked me to FaceTime again, I finally said yes. Now, I had worked out an excuse, even though it was sort of not the truth. Like, I feel really guilty about lying, but also I wasn't going to FaceTime this man for another 3 hours after telling him that I'm not interested in dating him. I had went through everything I was going to say. I got on the FaceTime call, and I said, "I've thought about it some, and I don't think I'm in a place where I want to date you right now." And I was like, "I don't want to date anyone right now," thinking that maybe it would just, like, take the pressure off if I said, like, I don't want to date anyone. He, being his pushy self, wanted to know why. I said, "There's some things I need to work through in my life before I can date anyone," which is partly true, but also I just didn't want to date him, and I was trying to come up with something on the spot so he'd back off and stop demanding to know why. His response to that was, "That makes you even more attractive to me." Someone setting boundaries and saying no to dating means no. You don't get to say things like, "Ooh, you're more attractive to me now," because that borders on the type of stuff that people who sexually assault people and rape people say. So I was like, okay, this is really bad. But I had already got my tickets and everything to go up to SakuraCon, and I really wanted to go to that Comic-Con for myself, not for him. I wanted to prove to myself that I could do a convention by myself, and I had been really interested in going to SakuraCon, and there was a bunch of guests there that I wanted to meet. Now, when we were on these FaceTime calls and we were talking about SakuraCon, he said that he was going to get 2 cosplays to match mine. He did not ask me, he just said, "I'm going to get these to match you." Thing is, you gotta ask someone if you're gonna match cosplays with them at a convention, and also the thing is, he went out of his way to get characters who were the lovers to the characters that I would be cosplaying. Like, he asked who I was cosplaying, I told him who was cosplaying, he got 2 cosplays, fairly expensive, that were the lovers to my characters that I'd be cosplaying. Also, before SakuraCon, I was taking a trip to Washington, and he wanted to meet up with me and spend a lot of time with me when I was up there. I just ended up using the excuse, like, my grandparents want to see me more, but if I'm being quite honest, I did not feel safe to be around this person after he was making me uncomfortable and after he did not take no as no. So fast forward to me heading up to SakuraCon. Thinking everything would be okay and I just ghost him after SakuraCon. However, when I was on the train up to SakuraCon, he kept pushing me about my sexual trauma, and he was like, I'm going to tell you my sexual trauma, and I got the very strong impression that he was thinking that if he told me his sexual trauma, I would feel comfortable to tell mine to him, which no, I set boundaries, I said no. So then, it's SakuraCon. He was wanting to like drive me to and from SakuraCon, and I was like, you know, I don't feel comfortable with this, so my parents told me a lie to tell him so that I wouldn't get in a car with him alone. Also, I forgot to mention, we were doing those video chats, he was also talking about wanting me to come over and see his place, and he was also talking about wanting to pay for a train ticket for me to go up and visit him where he lives. So, at SakuraCon, I get there, I'm having a panic attack, but I'm telling myself, I can do this. I can do this. He'll be fine in person, it'll all be fine. I get there, and he immediately goes on to that whole protecting thing. I'm gonna be with you all the time to make sure you're okay. He went to the bathroom at one point, he gave me his weapon for his cosplay and said, here, this is for you to protect yourself. And I was like, no, you cannot keep this up, especially not in person. You can't keep this whole idea in your brain that I'm a damsel in distress. It is sexist and it makes me so uncomfortable, and it is manipulative to like try and get him to like seem like he's better than me and that I need him, and I didn't need him. I was telling myself I could do this, I can still do this even with him saying that, and then he started making racist remarks to me saying that all Japanese people are pervy, and I was like, F this, I can't do this, and I started crying. I had a panic attack. Now, he wanted to be with me all the time, but I was trying to come up with some reason why I needed to be alone. So I was like, hey, here's the autographing area. I'm gonna go get some autographs. So he finally left me. I go to get an autograph. The actress that I was super excited to meet was like, did you want to do a selfie with that? And I burst out crying because I was so overwhelmed and stressed. And she helped me get to security, and security was like, this isn't okay. So security helped me through it, and security is what gave me the motivation to finally put my foot down and say no. So I told the guy that I wasn't going to be with him at all for the rest of the convention. He was like, I'm really confused, buddy. He started using this phrase buddy with me starting at that moment, and it didn't sit right with me. He called me buddy a lot later too, and I was like, this is weird. I went back and forth whether I wanted to like document every single thing that he did to me to him, but then I was talking to people about it and everyone was basically like, don't do that, you don't own that, you don't have to be a teacher to correct all of his mistakes. I basically ended up just telling him like, hey, you crossed the line when you said I was more attractive to you after I put down a boundary and said I didn't want to date you. Also, I'm sorry, that's my dog crying. She hears my mom in the garage, so she really wants to see my mom, but my mom hasn't come in yet. Then he was like, oh, I'm sorry, I know I crossed the line. And I also said the whole protecting thing. He was like, I was just trying to make sure that you like weren't alone with like your health issues and stuff. And I was like, you explicitly were using it to be very sexist. You weren't using it in a form of like, I know you have health issues, I want to help you out with them. Like, it was never worded like that. I have now blocked him on everything. I will never unblock him. He did try and like send me this message like, hey, I want my friend back, I miss my friend. And I was like, you weren't even saying I miss you, you were saying you miss your friend. You're just missing a connection with someone. So grooming signs to look out for, they're trying to act like a protector, like a guardian angel or knight in shining armor for you. They're bringing up stuff from the past to try and make it be like, oh, I've known you for a while, especially if you haven't known them closely for a while. There's the love bombing, there's the not understanding when you put down boundaries, there's the pushing your boundaries, because it was somewhat pushing my boundaries to get me to keep talking as long as he could to try and get to know every detail of my life, and someone wanting to know every detail of your life is also a major warning sign. Now on to how this affects me. Because a lot of his compliments had to do with my body and how it looks, I am been very insecure in my body. Also the fact that he was physically attracted to me and emphasized that to me, again, I feel really like gross in my body now. Because he spent so much time getting me to talk to him nonstop, I now have a sense of loneliness without him there, which is really hard, and I feel guilty every time I consider reaching out to him again, but I only consider reaching out to him because I don't have someone to talk to 24/7 anymore, and that's because he spent so much time getting me hooked into him and invested in him. And I feel awful about myself because I didn't realize what was going on for a very long time. Like, I think in total this went on for like a month and a half, maybe 2 months. So I feel gross about myself for not like realizing what was going on sooner. I'm also very lucky that this wasn't worse, but I do know that if I had not put down boundaries, if I had not ended up blocking him, this could have gotten much worse. Now I will have to see him at conventions, so I don't know how that will go because he goes to Pacific Northwest conventions. Those are my home turf conventions, so I don't know what that's gonna look like. I do have some plans in place on like making sure I'm not going alone, making sure I know where the security is so that I can reach out to them and stuff like that. I also have PTSD from other events in my life, and because of that, I can sense that certain things revolving around him are starting to become triggers, so I have to do exposure therapy so they don't become triggers. So I've been really uncomfortable, and it's been really hard to work on those exposure therapies. So that was basically what happened to me and how it impacted me. I feel like the word grooming gets thrown out there a lot, but I feel like people don't often share what exactly it looks like, how sneaky it is, because people often don't realize it's grooming until it's pretty far along. People also need to talk more about the complicated mess of emotion and trauma that people can experience after it's done. So yeah, there are a few people who I will tell you his name, but I don't think I'm going to post his name publicly right now, but I need to share my experience with this, raise awareness for what grooming actually looks like and what it entails, in part just because I feel like it's what I need to do, and also because I know that there are people in the Pacific Northwest cosplay community that may bump into this person, and I want those people to be aware of the signs in case this person decides to do it to anyone else. I don't know if I was like an exception and he only targets me. I don't know if this is like a pattern he does it to other people. Like, I am not sure. I know I may lose friends for this, but it's what I need to do, and me staying silent on it is not helping anyone, and it has just been weighing on me nonstop to tell all of you about what went on. So yeah. Just FYI, Comic Cons are generally a very safe place. There is just every once in a while creeps there, and you just need to be very aware of what these creeps do and what it all entails.